What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Conversation Piece for another episode. This is your place to discover the untold stories of all the people here in Indianapolis and the community itself. My name is Patrick. I am your host. And today, my guest is a marketing leader with over 14 years of hands-on professional experience in the public sector and attraction industry. Two words that I like together. Currently serves as a vice president of marketing communications at the 500 Festival here in Indianapolis. She's also an avid runner, community builder, brand developer, and an overall cool human being, as we've been discovering here before we hopped on mic. And we're going to get into a lot of that right now. So without further ado, it is my great joy and privilege to welcome Lindsay Labas to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
100%. I don't know if you've watched or listened to any episodes, but we generally like to start with extremely difficult questions. So I'm going to start with a really difficult question.
Sounds good.
Did you get a run in today?
Not yet.
Okay. Do you do runs daily?
Not daily. I would say about 2 to 3 times a week right now.
Okay. I like it. I want to start with running, and because I know it's a big part of kind of your personal identity, and it was a lot of what we talked about in our pre-meeting when we're coming in here. And we're going to talk about the 500 Festival, which is not specifically about racing. There are ties to racing, but I wanted to start with running and ask kind of like, what was the background for you? What got you into running, and why do you think that's something that's kind of carried through?
Yeah. So I started running in, I think it would be elementary school, middle school timeframe, and was on the cross country team. At that time, we did 3 miles. That was basically like around the block of the school, which was great. And then I took a lot of time off, and I didn't run again after that until really college time and right after college. My older brother and I were planning a trip to Peru, and because of the altitude there and what we would be climbing in order to get to Machu Picchu, we were doing a 4-day 3-night kind of excursion. I wanted to increase my lung capacity. So I decided to just jump on the apartment treadmill and start getting some miles in and really start to figure out what that breathing felt like. And it's really just been something that's stuck since. So I love running because it's so much of a mental game, but it's also a place for me to kind of de-stress, get away from everything that's going on during the day and just be with myself.
I love it. Treadmill running, street running.
Street running.
Street running, trail running.
Ooh, that's tough. I think it depends on the race.
Okay.
I have noticed the difference just between how long you can go. So I feel like you can go a little bit longer on the trail because it's not as hard on the knees and the body.
Sure.
So I have appreciated that when I've been able to do that, but haven't really found a ton of trails yet around the area that are really kind of showcasing outside of like Eagle Creek Park.
Sure.
I know Fort Bend's got some as well. It's just a little bit harder for me to get down to those locations. So
Definitely.
Street's a little bit easier with my schedule right now.
100%. Most ideal running situation for yourself? Is it a race? Is it just going out for a run, like just on your own? What does that look like for you?
It would be just going out and running. So I am not a planner when it comes to running, which is completely different than the rest of my life.
I like that because I feel like when I used to run distances, I had to have it structured. I need to know where I'm going and how long I'm going to be on there and how long it's going to take.
That is the complete opposite of me. I do have a plan that I put together myself just to kind of gauge of where I should be mileage-wise. But then if I'm not feeling it that day, it's not a big deal. I don't stress out about that. I think that's been a big thing that I've kind of helped me stick with running. And I don't ever really put together where I'm going. So I'm very much Magellaning. I don't know if that's a word.
I like it. It is now. That's a new word for us, for real.
Go out and I run. I know pretty much of like what mileage looks like just from driving around Carmel in the area and where I need to get and where I need to go. So I just kind of find my way along and try to hit up as many parks as I can, go through some neighborhoods. And really, I just love checking out what's around me. So I get very lost in my surroundings when I go out for a run.
I like it. That's the one thing I liked about street running was just that, it's not a track. It's not just one lap. It's not just one road. Like I can kind of choose where I want to go. But again, I'm a structure guy when it comes to running. I'm like, I need to know. So I like that you can just kind of go out and do the thing and do it in the place in the community that you live. You mentioned that you're in Carmel. You spent the first part of your career doing marketing for the Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation Department. I what took you to the parks? Obviously, you talked about you had a gap between your running experiences, then you got back into running, started on a treadmill. You're more of a street runner, but I feel like you had to have spent some time in the parks. Was there something specific that drew you to CCPR specifically?
Yeah, so that's really how I grew up. So we grew up, I've got four, oh my gosh, let me start that over. Do not have 4 brothers. So that really goes back to how I grew up. So I've got 3 brothers and my mom and dad, and it was always cheaper for us to head out west rather than going down to Disney every single year. So we would go out and we would visit all of the national parks. And that's really where I fell in love with the outdoors and nature and wanting to be kind of out there on my own and explore. There's something that comes with climbing a mountain and getting up to the top and being able to say, I conquered this, I was able to do this. And I think that ties so much closely with running as well, as you're setting those goals and you have to take every single step to get to that final kind of place that you conquer, crossing that finish line, that triumph. So I think those two kind of go hand in hand, but the park side of things was I tend to go into employment and career opportunities where I have a really big passion behind it. And for me, that was Parks Department. So I loved being outdoors. I don't know a lot about trees and nature and animals. I'm not on that side of things. But just knowing kind of how I grew up and that I had a passion for that, I knew I could easily talk about it and market it. And that's very similar to where I'm at now. And it was just laying in the different things that I would learn along the way on the job in terms of being able to speak about what a greenway is versus what a park is and what a waterway is and watershed. And that's all stuff that you kind of just learn throughout the job. But being able to have that passion, I feel like you could put 100% in. So that's what brought me to parks. I definitely learned on the job with that. So my history was I went to Purdue University and majored in graphic design. So I was more on the arts computer side of things. Moved up to Itasca, Illinois area for a little bit after that and worked for a trucking company and did a lot of their design and some of their campaigns. And I wanted more than that. I'm somebody who always kind of wants to keep learning and always wants to add more to my plate, whether that's good or bad. And that was just kind of what happens with Carmel. So I went on board there to bring their design in-house. And little by little, year after year, I just started getting more into that marketing world. And that's kind of what led me to where I am today.
I love it. Is there something about telling the story of not just the Parks Department, but the community involved in the Parks Department that really stuck out to you and something that you kind of took with you as you transition to the 500 Festival?
Yeah, so I am a very behind-the-scenes person. I know we talked about that earlier. I am an introvert, and I like just being able to tell everybody else's story and get them to experience everything that I talk about through my marketing and promotions that I do. So it's easy for me to kind of sell and speak about it because of the community and the people that are involved in it, because they're the ones that are having those experiences, and I'm able to tell those stories and share it with the world. Yeah,
well, like you said, you're passionate about it, something that you're passionate about. And the community runs through your veins and your family's veins. It's part of who you are. I know you were involved with a lot during your time there as well. And I like the idea. I like this idea of wanting to tell other people's stories. So I was wondering if I could ask, or if you could share a little bit about your experience bringing the Roundabout Playback Theater program to the Parks Department.
Yeah, so the Roundabout Playback Theater group was something that was developed by an individual, Michelle Yaden, who used to work for Carmel Clay Parks as well. And it is part of the inclusion program that takes place there. And it's something that she really helped get off the ground and running. And that's another area where I am super passionate about. I believe in everybody participating, no matter the ability or level, just having somebody be able to be seen as everybody else. There's no divide there. And that program was something that was really able to do that. And these students came together or participants, I should say, came together and were able to put on a play after really practicing throughout the season and learning their lines, learning what they needed to do through movement and through action. And it was just this really moving piece that was done at the end. I mean, you would have tears in your eyes crying every single time that you saw it. And that was something that was just really cool to be a part of and being able to extend what we would do to this group of individuals.
Yeah, when I came across it, I was like, I feel like in the last year or two, I had heard of a similar type of program. I think it's kind of gotten bigger, dramatic therapy or something like that. Yeah. And I thought it was really cool. And I thought it was really cool that this was a program that kind of started here in Indy.
It did.
And I think that's not something that you hear very often, inclusive programs like that, starting here in the city. I mean, I guess it was in Carmel, but that's neither here nor there. I think the other thing that I saw once I came across that article about the group was seeing that you do, at least from your behind-the-scenes position, a lot of advocacy work for the disabled community, and that shows up time and time again. And I was wondering if there was a specific moment that you realized you could utilize the work that you do to help build a more inclusive place for specifically the disabled community.
Yeah, I think that comes into play a lot with that storytelling.
Sure.
And like I said, I don't see anybody any differently than anybody else. And I think it's really important to be able to talk about that community as a whole. I'm always looking to gain partnerships in that world. We work with Ainsley's Angels right now with the 500 Festival, and just being able to get their name and organization out into the world is also super important for me. And then just being able to tell what they're also experiencing. You know, they're no different than anybody else that's crossing that finish line, and probably doing things that are even harder for them. And just being able to talk about that and get that out into the world, I think is super important. I also, on the running side on my own, I am part of the I Run For program as well. So I Run For Michael was the origination of that. And I have what's called a buddy who's up in the Dakotas area, Mira, and you're basically supposed to devote your runs to this individual because they are not able to run. So that's something that I hold very dear to my heart. So on my runs, I always think about Mira when I'm out there, and you know, I devote those to her as well. So the inclusive community is something that I'm very passionate about as well.
I love that. Shout out to Mira. And I bring that up because I appreciate when people utilize their privilege to stand in the gap for other people and either build bridges or act as the shield or whatever it might be to support communities. And it made me think of previous guest, brother Jamal Shabazz. He came out and talked about the importance of just showing up at something, and you never know the impact that you might have on somebody. So to even do one thing for a community means a lot, and you never know the impact. But to continue to show up, I think, says a lot, and it's a model that I think we can all stand to learn from. So thank you for doing that.
Of course, yeah.
You spent a good amount of time at the Carmel Clay Parks Department. What was it like to make what prompted the transition to the 500 Festival?
Looking for something different and new. So 14 years is a lot of time to devote to something. It's crazy. That still in my brain is just so long of a time frame that I was there.
For sure.
But being able to make the impact that I did while I was there was something that I took with me as well. But I was looking for just a little bit of change, something a little bit different, and utilizing what I learned there, because I really grew up through working with them. I was there for 14 years on the personal side. You know, I was engaged, I got married, I had kids. So they got to see me really grow as a human being. And I was just ready to kind of spread my wings and see what else was out there at that point in time. So like we've talked, I'm very passionate about what I do and kind of that community outreach side of things. And I was looking for an organization where I could also have that passion behind what I did. So I'm not always looking for what's the right job title, but what is easy for me to be able to stand behind and promote as well. And the festival was one of the organizations that was hiring at that point in time. And it's something that I was very quickly able to get on board with and support, even just outside of running. So I know we talked earlier that I was definitely drawn to it because of the mini marathon, and I have that tie to running. But I think I was one of the many people that are still out there today that don't know everything that the 500 Festival does and puts on. And the more you go to the website and you read or you talk to people, there are so many different connections or people that have been involved in it. And I just wanted to be a part of that and help share that story.
100%. Okay, so let's get into that aspect of it. You said there are probably a lot of people who don't really fully understand the full breadth of what the 500 Festival is. So what is the 500 Festival? What do y'all do? Do y'all drive cars out there? Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit organization that was established in 1957 from 4 businessmen who wanted to build a festival to help support the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Indy 500. So when we were first established, we had a parade. We were one of the first parades in the nation. And they started creating this organization to have special events. So that's in the grand scheme of things, that's the quickest way to sum it up for everybody. And that's exactly what we do today. So our mission is to produce these life-enriching events for the community, to create a positive impact on both the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana, and to celebrate the Indianapolis 500. So all of those three things are what goes into every single program and event that we offer, not just throughout the month of May, but heavily the month of May. And we definitely take that into account. And we tie a lot to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, obviously with the Indy 500, because that is one of our pillars of the mission, to celebrate that. And we work very closely with them just to, see if we can have drivers in some of the events and programs that we offer, and how we can tie to their theme for the year, and really just want to have that conversation there. So there is definitely some gray area between our two organizations to the community, but that's not a bad thing. I think there's always going to be that gray area as long as we internally know which areas we need to be in.
Yeah. Is there a part of the gray area that is the kind of the most common thing that people maybe misunderstand when they're coming to asking questions about it?
I think when people hear specifically that I work for the 500 Festival, it's like, oh my gosh, you do the race. And it's like, well, no, not exactly. There's other people that do that, but we do all of the events and celebration that lead up to it. So I think that little divide, while it seems very little, it really is a huge difference, because the team at IMS does so much that's tied to racing in general. They work with IndyCar as well. Yeah. They're in their own world and we're kind of in our own world, but we also have to work together as a joint unit because all of our missions tie together.
Sure. It's a Venn diagram that makes a lot of sense.
Very much so.
It's a good Venn diagram. It's not a circle. Yes. I don't know what I was trying to say.
That's actually part of our onboarding documents is a Venn diagram.
If you guys are hiring, I already know it. So no, I'm just kidding. Okay. One of the things you said, like, a lot of people think when they hear 500, instantly they think about the race. Instantly they go to May. Yes. That's obviously a big event. May 25th, I think I heard this year. But what you said, it's not just May for you. Like for you guys, for y'all, for your team, it is every month outside of that month as well. What does that look like to plan, host events, do stuff that works in conjunction with the speedway and with the race, and that also helps you stand on your own 2 feet? What does that look like for y'all everywhere and every month? But
to sum it up short, it's a lot of communication and it's a lot of planning. And with that is because while a lot of people do think that, we are just working in the month of May, and there's a lot of questions of, well, what do you do after May? Right. The answer is a lot. Yeah. We're talking to a lot of... How much time do you have? So, right. Yeah. We're talking to a lot of partners, a lot of community members, because we couldn't be who we are as the festival without them. So we rely on them, which means there's a lot of communication and planning and logistics. And our ops team has a lot to figure out with those groups and those entities. And then on the marketing end, we're always promoting something that we have that we're offering. Yeah. And then it's, we've got to do reports for a lot of the partners that we are working with to make sure that they're getting the value of the agreement. And it's just ongoing things that we're doing. And our kind of season in terms of events is, yes, May is very heavy. We have the mini marathon, we have Kids Day, we have the parade, we have our memorial service, we have breakfast at the Brickyard and volunteer appreciation days. All that happen in May. So every single weekend we're busy. But outside of that, we've got an education program with 4th grade students across Indiana. And that consists of being involved in their spring curriculum that aligns with their academic standards. We've got mobile trips that we do going out to all of those schools in the month of March. We do study trips with a lot of those schools in the month of April. And then we have some corporate member events throughout the year as well for more of the business leaders. And then our Miler series kicks off in February, which is the training series that leads into the mini. So we're busy. We've got stuff going on. Yeah. And I think that's just one of the misconceptions that I would love to get out there go to our website, visit the calendar, and see what you guys can all participate in, because there's something all the time.
So people, there are volunteer opportunities at every step of the way.
Yes. We've got pretty much about 7,000 different positions, so to speak, that you could volunteer for. And we've got 2,500 individuals that participate each year to fill those spots. So there are a ton of opportunities out there that start as early as February and go all the way through May.
Incredible. So you just dropped, I think, 67 events that y'all do, not just in May, but throughout the year. Lots of stuff, lots of different hands and places to be, people to talk to, ideas to formulate and then execute, a lot of things to go into it. To me, it sounds like there's got to be maybe 50 to 100 people working on this throughout the year. What does your team look like? How does the 500 festival operate in that way?
We have 20 full-time staff on our team. And then January through May, we bring in 11 to 12 interns to help. And then the rest of the year, it's really the 20 of us who are coordinating with all of those partners, community members, organizations, everybody that we rely on to make these events happen. So it is a small internal team,
Yeah.
but we need the world outside of it.
Well, you said you have 7,000 open positions for people to volunteer,
Yes.
2,500 generally that help throughout the year. So it's not like it's only the 20.
Correct.
But to get everything in motion and then to connect everything and essentially create and execute on the framework that is going to allow the 2,500 people to help and do things that need to be done, it's just this small team.
Yes. Small but very mighty is what we like to say.
What is the biggest challenge of running a small team to do such a wide variety of tasks throughout the year?
I think for everybody in the world, it's just time. Is not having enough time in the day to get everything done that you need to get in, whether that's personally or professionally or the balance of the two. I feel like time is never on anybody's hands. But it really is just coming up with those plans and setting in, those milestones of when you need to connect with people, when the conversations with them become relevant, and really just keeping that conversation going. While we do have programs and events that happen throughout the year, we definitely do have a slower time, I would say August through October. So it's making sure that we're also staying relevant in those months as well and staying out in the community. So then when we kind of do our soft relaunch in October, that people know that we're coming and that we still exist.
100%. You've mentioned community a couple times, and that's one of the things that drew you to the festival was just the ties and the impact on community. And like you said, it kind of takes all of the people that you work with, the partners that you work with, to help make all of this go too. The 20 people connect with the 2,500 people, and those 2,500 people help support all of the different partners that you work with. Can you talk about some of these folks that you bring in to help either support you through partnership, through sponsorship, and what that looks like, and how that feeds into this idea of community?
Yeah, so every single program and event that we have has a title partner that's attached to it. So they help with funding for us as the nonprofit organization, and then help with participation and outreach or ties if we need something. So we were talking earlier before this about how connected everybody is and how you're getting closer and closer to being, not an arm's length away from somebody that you want to get in the doors with.
Exactly.
And I think that's so true to the 500 Festival because we also have 33 board members that are there. So everybody is looking out for the festival and knows what the organization needs or what doors we need to kind of get through. And it's just relying on those individuals and those connections to really get you in that door and have those conversations. I think it's a really kind of eye-opening experience working for the organization to see everybody will put their own personal kind of feelings and things aside to make sure that they're putting the festival in the right light and seeing how they can help. It's, like I said, community members, partners, it's sponsors, everybody's willing to just give the 500 Festival everything they can in order to be a part of it and have the community experience what is the month of May.
Yeah, well, it seems like it's I'm learning more about it now over the last year or so about the festival itself, but it seems like it's been pretty integral to the community. And I like this idea of getting people more aware of what's going on so we can continue to build those connections and continue to reach out into other areas that may not know about racing, but may also not know about why the community around the track and just the city of Indianapolis, the state of Indiana, how we can do a lot more together when we connect and build across those bridges, which I think is part of what your theme is this year, connected through May. So could you talk a little bit about how you came to the theme and what we want to walk away with
Yes.
with it?
So our theme used to be tied just to the parade. And a couple years ago, we decided to make it more of a theme throughout the year because we want to continue to tell those stories throughout the year.
Right.
We don't want to have to just do it around the parade time. So this year's theme, Connected Through May, really leans into what we've been talking about in this conversation. It's that we rely on the community and the public to really help us be who we are, and we wouldn't be who we are without them. So we want to give those spotlights to not only the individuals who are volunteering or participating, but also the partners and the sponsors that we have that are tied to us as well.
So big shift then to change thematically, I think, from being specifically focused on the parade to being more all-encompassing. What does that process look like? Because you have your 20-person team, and then I wanted to say this before I asked this other question, I forgot, but now I'm remembering. Then you mentioned that you have 33 board members, which I thought was like, okay, how does that work? How does that work to come together to make a decision on something that will have such an impact like a theme like this?
What's great is the management really kind of lets you lead and take ownership of things. So being able to come in with an idea and being able to implement it without some of those hurdles or those red flags, so to speak, it was something that was easier to do than you would think.
Sure. Well, you said a lot of people put personal aside
Yes.
when it comes to the 500 festival. So
yeah, so it was just an idea that we had because, like I said, we wanted to tell those stories more throughout the year. And while it's great that we can make that announcement with the parade, being able to tie everything to it a little bit sooner and starting to release some of those stories and some of those conversations ahead of time, or, being able to connect with the media to go do interviews about it and live hits. It just gives us a longer time frame to connect with people who are participating or are tied to us to get some information and help tell those stories through those avenues.
Yeah, and I think it helps for community members like myself who may not have been aware of the 500 Festival as its own entity to really start to get a broader, fuller, more nuanced understanding of what it is, which I think is why I really love this theme, because you said festival was founded in 57, right? So that's a long time.
It is.
Y'all have been operating for a long time. That's a lot of story, a lot of experience to be able to draw on as you tell stories about how you're connected beyond May through May. What does it look like? Actually, let me ask it this way. Are you tapping into the different generational aspects of the 500 Festival, what it's meant to start something back in the 50s to still continue carry that on today?
Yeah, we have a ton of conversations still with any alumni, past board members, anybody that has been tied to us previously. We have 4 individuals who have ran the mini marathon every single year since we've started. So we reach out to those individuals every single year to get them involved.
When did the mini marathon start?
It's 77.
Oh my goodness.
So it's been a long time.
That's making my feet hurt. My foot just cramped hearing about that. Anyways.
Yeah, so we love to keep the people involved that have been tied to the 500 Festival. And then some of our program and events start as young as 3 years old to become involved in it and participate. So our rookie run that takes place during Kids Day, individuals 3 to 10 can come participate in a fun run. And usually that's one of the first runs, competitive runs, so to speak, that they participate in and could potentially start their running career.
For sure.
And it's just fun to see everybody get involved so young. I think another thing that's kind of been a shock to me, but I don't know why it was, because it's just silly that it was, but is almost every single person that you talk to in Indianapolis has some sort of tie to the 500 Festival, whether it's they came as a family to the parade when they were younger, or they were a past princess in the princess program, or they did the rookie run when they were younger. There are so many stories like that are out there that we're trying to grab onto and tell, because almost every single person that I talk to and tell them what I do, they're like, oh my gosh, I did this, 5 years ago with my family, or I know somebody that did that. And it really shows you how much that community is connected and how everybody's connected to us.
I feel like it makes me think about a lot of the conversations we've had this year about community and how people, we've talked about things like the Indiana Black Expo and how that's changed over the years, and how people are communities are clamoring to get that back, to get back to the sense of community building in a way for something for specific communities, but just in general for Indianapolis, to have these things that bring us together. And I love that the festival, the parade, or whatever the program might be, has kind of stood that test of time. Has there been a specific story or experience that you've heard that really stood out to you and made you think, okay, you've been here for 4 years now?
Just
4
about, yeah.
years at the festival, worth it for this one story?
I can't pick just one because there are
Okay.
so many good ones
Sure.
that are out there. It's just being in our position and seeing some of the emails that come across. I know our registration and ticketing person, she's had somebody that she's communicated with year after year, has built a relationship who was, she was invited to this lady's birthday party and she was made a quilt. And you just really become so connected with the individuals that are participating. And for me, you talked a little bit ago too of like being there and being present and showing up.
Yeah.
And it's being there for that last runner who crosses the finish line at the mini marathon and not walking away because you've got something else, quote unquote, more important to do. There's just so much that you can kind of do with the community and stay connected and just, I don't know, it's those stories that really kind of shine to me as there's more out there. We just need to figure out how to get them and tell them because every single person that participates in our programs is important and probably overcoming something in some way.
I love that. And I feel like that's a stance that not a lot of people take anymore, in that every individual person's story matters and carries an equal amount of importance. We're just all going through different stuff.
Right.
And we experience things differently. We can all run the mini marathons in 77, but all of our experiences running the mini marathons in 77 are different. Yes. But I think that's what makes a community, that's what makes a city, a family beautiful, is not that we all walk in a uniform line and all have the same experience, but we can all do the same thing and have 60 different experiences.
Exactly.
And I think what I'm taking away from this conversation so far is just how connected we really all are, even when we don't see those connections. You talked about we're trying to uncover different ways, new avenues to tell some of these stories. Anything in particular that you're excited about from a storytelling aspect that is new for what the festival is doing?
Ooh, that's interesting. I wouldn't say new. Specifically with the running world, we're always looking to help tell those stories of what people have overcome. So we have a blog that's coming out in the next couple of days that's about somebody who was scared to even walk, and go out and put something together in terms of their fitness journey. So being able to see them then register for the 5K or the mini marathon and work toward those goals is something that personally gets to me.
Sure.
And I think it's just something that so many people are going through, and until you read it or until you hear it, you really can't relate. And specifically with running, there are so many people that say, I can't run, or I'm not a good runner. The second you get out there and you try and you take those steps, and whether it's you run a block or you run and walk a block, you're still out there tackling a goal that you set yourself up to do. And there's so many more people out there that are just like you in that regard that you can kind of latch onto and hold those stories and know that you can relate. I think that's what's so beautiful about the mini marathon is we have 20,000 plus people that are out there who are all trying to get across that finish line. Yeah. It's just they all have different paths and how they're going to get there.
Yeah. We're always trying to operate it from another person's ideal perspective. And I think that's one of the most difficult things about running is realizing, I'm just doing this for myself, which I love about your mindset with running. It's just like, if you can just go out there and run and not think about it, you just think about literally anything else but the activity that you're doing. Like, it can be beneficial to you, a good, maybe mental health reset. And I think sharing those stories about folks even overcoming that kind of fear, I think is important, particularly from a runner standpoint. You talked about the mental aspect of running that you really liked a lot. You've also talked about the way you run being antithetical or opposite to how you kind of go about your professional life, which, as we've talked, you have so many things that you're doing. Small team, got to be structured, got to be on top of communication. Also, tapping into Alyssa Impink, who we just had on the show, she said there is no such thing as work-life balance, which I think you've kind of touched
100%.
on as well. Okay, where was I? Okay, I know now. What is for you, the connection between, especially because the marathon is such a big part of kind of what you do at the festival, what's the connection between your mindset as a runner to your mindset as a storyteller in the position that you are with the festival?
That's a tough question. Say that again for me.
Is there a correlation between your mindset as a runner and the mindset that you carry as a storyteller when you're trying to tell the stories as the 500 Festival Marketing VP?
Yeah, so I think for me, hardworking is probably a word that kind of describes both myself through running and the work world. I persevere a lot through whether it's health issues or just mentally to say, I'm not an elite athlete. I'm never going to be an elite athlete, but those are the people that you always follow, right. on social. And you know you're probably never going to get there because you don't have the time or the regimen in order to do it. So it's, how do I set myself up with goals that I know that I can achieve, but also challenge myself to get to that next step. And that's very much who I am in the career world as well, of I'm not satisfied just sitting and not doing anything in any fashion of my life. So I'm always trying to figure out, what's that next challenge? What can hit my plate that I'm uncomfortable with? This podcast was one of those things. I told you guys that, I'm used to the 1 to 2 minute snippets in terms of interviewing with media, but sitting here for 50 minutes is scary. But it's about taking that step and mentally being able to push yourself to do that. And in the work world, for me, I didn't go to school for marketing. Everything I learned was hands-on. I had some really great mentors along the way. So there probably are times where I feel like I've got that imposter syndrome of, I'm a VP of marketing, but what can I really, what am I really bringing to the table? And a lot of that is mentally getting yourself to believe in yourself and to push yourself to that next step. And I think that happens both for me in running and at work.
I love that. Okay, I have another related question. Unstructured in your day-to-day runs, do you have a structure to how you operate when you race or are training for a race?
Win? No. I'm just kidding. I just told you I'm not an elite athlete. That's not going to happen. But
right. But I didn't know if you're like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this thing or this race and I'm going to run it. And then I didn't know if there was like, I have a plan for myself, not to like, I'm going to be an elite athlete, but just like, this is how I'm going to approach this.
I would say it's more so on the nutrition hydration side of things where I have a plan. I know what mileage I'm going to take my Humagel or when I'm going to take the, noon packet, whatever that looks like. I know where I'm going to have those water breaks and things like that. Outside of that, I just run based on feel. So I don't have those set, like I need to have these splits or I need to go, beat myself in the last one. You always try to say I'm going to go PR. But whether or not your training's really led you to get you to that point is a different story. But yeah, I'm all just go out and run on feel, kind of push myself when I feel like I'm doing well. I feel like I'm the complete opposite of a lot of runners. I don't look at course maps before a race. I just want to go out and follow the signage and figure it out.
Please signage be up. Okay, I love that answer. And so how I was going to tie this back to the festival is you run based on feel, even in your races. Is there ever a time where you're tapping into an aspect of that as you're doing this work beyond May and even in May, where you're just like, hey, we're just going to feel this out and see what happens?
I think a lot of the time. In events, you have to be flexible. I mean, you could plan for a sunny 50-degree day, and in April, you've got snow.
Classic
that happens. So I think it's really of just being able to kind of be able to take those turns and navigate on your own and figure things out along the way. And I think I do that in running and I do that at work as well of, maybe the featured guest that we had for Breakfast at the Brickyard fell through. So now, what's plan B? Who are we going to go after? And that may happen at the 11th hour. So being able to adapt and be flexible is something that's very important in the events world.
I like it. I am here for it. Okay. I appreciate everything that you've shared about the festival. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I feel like there's still a lot on the table that we could get into. But I want to ask right now, because we've already been sitting here for almost 40 minutes, if you haven't noticed that yet, is you've talked about some of the stuff that you have coming up, but what specific, this is coming out last week of March. What specifically is coming up for the festival right now that people should be aware of, tapping into, especially if they want to get involved? What are some things that they could be getting involved with?
Yeah, so all of our May events and programs outside of Breakfast at the Brickyard, because that's officially sold out, you guys can participate. So the mini marathon is May 3rd. We also have a 5K at that, so don't let the 13.1 miles scare you. There is 3.1 miles that you could do with that 5K. And I think just realizing that everything that we offer is for everybody and anybody. So it doesn't matter your level, your ability, race, gender, anything. We want everybody to participate in everything that we have to offer. So if you're scared to take that first step for the mini, why don't you just go out and try the 5K this year?
Sure.
You know, it's something that we have a ton of walkers at. It's not, you know, we've got our elite field and we've got the fast runners, but we also have a lot of individuals who are out there just trying to get through it and, you know, mentally get through it or physically get through it. So we've got that coming up. We've got our Kids Day and Rookie Run, which is more geared toward families. Kids Day is free and open to the public on Monument Circle. And then the Rookie Run, I believe it's $10 registration for those little rookie runners to go out there and conquer, whether it's a block or 3 blocks of mileage.
Okay.
So we've got that. We have a ton of volunteer opportunities, which we talked about. We have our memorial service, which is a more solemn event for us that takes place the Friday before race day, I would say. And that's something that is a super moving event that we put on. I would highly encourage everybody to come out to that, where we honor all the brave men and servicewomen who have fallen during battle. And then we have the parade, which is more of a celebratory event after that. A lot of those are free to the public, so it's just a matter of coming out on those days during the time frame that they're offered. But a few of them do have tickets, like the mini marathon has registration, parade has ticket sales. So I would just say, you know, go to our calendar events on our website, see what all we have to offer. If you can't physically participate or don't want to participate because you don't feel you're ready, volunteer.
Yeah.
It's a great way to get involved and to see what we do. And then maybe next year you can dive in a little deeper.
There we go. Always can volunteer, and you can always start whenever you're ready to start. I like that. There's no pressure to start.
There isn't.
No pressure to start because it's going to continue to be here and going to continue to be available. You've been in the role and with the festival for 4 years now. Biggest change in you over these 4 years at the festival?
Biggest change in me, I would say, is just continuing to build relationships. So I've talked about how I'm an introvert, but being able to step out and take on challenges. I think one of the things that I didn't think I loved as much was the relationships that I had or that I could get through this line of work. Sure. And I work with a lot of partners and community members and organizations right now. And it's been one of the most fun things that I've been doing is being able to tie them to our brand and also being able to promote their brand along with it. It's something that I found a lot of joy in.
I love that. And behind the scenes person, that I feel like networking and connecting and building relationships like that can feel sometimes maybe front of camera, but we need those people those nail people who can tie everybody together.
Exactly.
And it seems like over the last 4 years, you've really done that with the festival, and it's continued to excel and exceed expectation. And it seems like a lot of people, I know about it now. So you know it's reaching people who need to be hearing about it. So I think y'all are doing some really great things. Speaking of community and people, we have a recurring segment on the show called Give Them Their Flowers, where we ask our guests to shout out someone or an entity or people who they feel like deserve their flowers at the moment. So Lindsay, I want to ask you, who do you think, or who would you like to give their flowers to today?
Everybody.
Can
I do that?
You get a flower and you get a flower. You can give flowers to whoever you'd like.
I love it. I think my biggest shout out is going to be to the volunteers that are tied to our organization. I believe in volunteer work. I know that it goes a long way for organizations, especially small organizations who don't have the hands to do everything. And I just appreciate that group of people so much. I love seeing them out at our events. They're always smiling, always having a good time. And they're just a great face to be out there. And we just appreciate what they do so much.
Shout out to volunteers. We have been, especially in the last few years, hosting a lot of huge events in the city. And each one that I've been to and each of the times that I've been talking to people, like the volunteers have always come up as like literally the glue that is holding these events together, especially when we just throw some of them together in about 2 months. So it really does take the city. It takes all of us as a community to come together to have these conversations, but then to just put boots on the ground and give everybody or show everybody what we're really about here in the city. So I appreciate that. And I have an idea now that I'm thinking about, now that we said that. But we'll talk about that later. I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about the festival. Anything that we didn't touch on that you really want to make sure that we talk about before I get ready to wrap us up?
Yeah,
okay, great. I know that you were nervous coming on here, and I feel like you've crushed this interview, this conversation.
Thank you.
And I feel like I'm walking away a lot more knowledgeable about the festival, and I'm excited to take my kid, who's one and who can start to understand what's happening in the world, to some of these events and just us getting more integrated into the city. But as we get ready to wrap, I have two, again, really difficult questions that I have to ask you before we leave. And then one final question after that. Where's the best ice cream in the city?
Oh, man. I love Bricks.
Okay, Bricks is pretty good. Bricks is pretty good. I like it.
It's, one of my favorites. I'm a huge ice cream fan, so that's a very appropriate question to ask me.
Favorite Bricks ice cream?
I love just chocolate chip cookie dough.
Okay, I like it. I'm a vanilla, like chocolate swirl kind of guy. I'm a simple guy, so I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Second, really, really difficult question. This might be even more difficult. Best beer in the city.
Oh, man, that's real hard.
I told you, the most difficult.
Man, you're gonna have to cut a lot of this out. Well, I think. Man, I don't know.
Okay, what are you drinking right now?
I am drinking a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. Let me start over. Cut.
Yeah, that'll kick it up.
My go-to beer right now, I would say, is an IPA, but I've also been intermixing the non-alcoholic beverages, which I really enjoy right now.
We have a couple brands putting out non-alcoholic beverages in the city, I believe, right? So very cool. Okay, I like it. Any NA brand that you are really enjoying right now?
I lean toward athletic, which is what you'll see with a lot of the running athletes. It really tastes just like a beer, and you would never know a difference if it was poured in a glass next to an actual IPA.
All right. Never know the difference until you wake up in the morning and feel great.
Feel great. So different.
I like it. Well, Lindsay, it's been a fantastic conversation again. Thank you for coming by. Shout out to Savannah for tapping into the show in some way and getting us connected. I'm really glad we were able to sit down and do this. We've talked a lot. Okay, two questions. How do we find, follow, and support the 500 Festival? Best ways.
We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of those social media platforms. You can go to our website as well. Everything can be at 500 Festival, and you'll find us no problem.
Perfect. And I know you're the behind the scenes person, but best way to find, follow, and support you if that's something you're open to.
Yeah, so I have a public Instagram. I run for Mira, like I talked about earlier today. So feel free to kind of follow that, come along my running journey. Otherwise, I'm on LinkedIn, and those are my two main platforms. Okay, shout out LinkedIn. We love a LinkedIn person. I'm on LinkedIn too. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if they want me here, but we're being there anyways. Lindsay, thank you again. I'm a Midwest goodbye closer of conversations because I say thank you about 60 times. I'm now coming up with things to get us away from the exit, but we're not going to do that. Thank you for coming by. Really excited to see what's in store for the 500 Festival this year, to see all of these things come to life. And thank you for the work that you do, not only in storytelling, but community building for not just the people that love racing, but for all of the city. Of course. We'll do it any day. 100%. For everybody else, new episodes of this show drop every Tuesday. Unless it's an emerging conversation, then they come out whenever. But you can get those on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Go to conversationpiecePod.com for the archives, for merch, and for the Open Door. If you're interested in that, Open Door every third Thursday of the month. We've got some really great conversations coming out in March. Actually, you just heard them in April, so tune in to those. Last but not least, actually, just kidding. We got some cool stuff coming up, so make sure you keep being tuned into that at Conversation Piece Pod on all social media platforms. And yeah, that's it for the show. John Overton and Popular Rapture on the mics, Mike Lee and Mike Lee Productions on the cameras. Shout out to Pattern and shout out to the Studs for this space. Shout out to Madeline McKinnon and Frida's Flowers. And shout out to Lindsay Labas. Shout out to the 500 Festival. And shout out to me. I'm your host, Patrick Armstrong. This has been Conversation Piece. See y'all soon.